Welcome to SPK Speak Sports. On our station, we talk about baseball and sports news, from the most recent stories to the throwbacks. Listen now to Scott, Paul, and Kelly on SPK Speak Sports as they hit the ball out of the park.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.
Hello, bowlers. My name is Scott.
I'm Paul.
I'm Kelly.
And we're the Lollipop Kids.
We're the SPK Speak Sports, wrapping up 2020. It's about time. Actually, it's more than about time. And I want to apologize to you, doctors, because we all are doctors these days, or doctors of opinion and doctors of sport. That I didn't shave today.
Neither did I.
And so if you want to hear, I didn't shave today. Okay, you see that now? Okay. So that's something that Trevor Lawrence and myself have in common. I was watching the game a week or so ago, and he said he'd been trying to grow something for 6 weeks. So anyway, that's enough about me. But you, what do you think of me? Now, okay, we're talking football initially. Kel,
Okay.
You're our doctor of football, so
Okay.
go, doctor.
Well, I opened up the paper, I think it was last week, and I saw that Boise State University's coach, Brian Harsin, is planning on going to, and he signed with, of all places, Auburn
What?
in Alabama.
I'm always the
I was
last
shocked.
to know.
I was shocked. And I'm hoping he does half as good as Tommy Tuberville, who is a new senator from Alabama, and he's the only one that has defeated Alabama 6 times in a row. Mm-hmm. I hope that Harsin can win 6 games in a row.
I hope
schedule.
whoever replaces Harsin at Boise State can win some games.
And the coach was one of our neighbors. I mean, not right next door, but just a few blocks
Yeah.
away. So
And you'd see him walking around. And
Yeah.
so.
the only thing, and again, I used to say I don't believe everything I read in the paper. I don't believe hardly anything I read in the paper. But one of the quotes from one of the players was, he didn't even look us in the eye to tell us he was gone. I mean, he was gone that weekend, and a couple of days, I don't think he ever had a team meeting. Now, granted, all the players probably had dispersed for Christmas
Yeah.
vacation and all that, but
That happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think every coach that has left a team, unless they really hated the coach, but that's rare. But most of the kids feel kind of slighted because they're committed to the team, and a coach can leave when his contract is over.
kind of like life, though. You just can't, not everything is fair, but you have spent all this
Right.
time telling these kids, hey, kid, you'll love it here. I'm an alumnus and yada, yada, yada. And then it's like, bye-bye.
And on the plus side, Boise State's not going to do a bowl game out of their own choice. Possibly that was because Brian Harsin was leaving, and it's pretty awkward when you have an assistant coach take over for a bowl game.
Well, I think that you gave it away when you said he didn't even put up his Christmas lights this year. I thought, oh my God, you must have been.
Well, and also, I think you said, or somebody said, I heard it somewhere, that he wanted out of the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah, he
and
did.
he's out.
Yeah,
That's right.
You know?
If they didn't want to go, he was going to go.
Okay, let's talk about those guys.
All right. Well, wow, this is going to be tough. I'm just hoping that Notre Dame can keep it close until I have my second beer. Because last time when they played for the championship, I went over to my brother's house. He came home early from work. We met there. I opened up a bottle of beer, and by the time I finished it, I knew we were in trouble. And
2 words of advice, Kelly.
don't drink.
Drink faster.
Yeah, there you go.
Mutton Buster.
Yeah, there you go. That's the
Mutton
proof.
Buster beer, baby.
I have
Also,
one college football story I'd like to.
can we just
talk
finish?
about. Okay,
we'll
sorry.
get to
No,
you.
all right.
We're going to
come
get
on.
to you. Alabama and Notre Dame are playing the Rose Bowl game
Yes.
in Texas. So that's what kind of year this has been. And I don't give much chance for Ohio State to beat Clemson.
Would that be the Yellow Rose of Texas?
Yeah.
But that Trevor Lawrence
He's
is
something,
amazing. He
man.
can
He's-
throw, he can run. So I hope he'll be happy playing for the Jets next year.
He's more popular than Jennifer.
And romance novels can have a new Fabio type on the covers of the book with Trevor's haircut.
Yeah.
What about Vicki Lawrence? I mean, that's only 40 years ago, you know,
yeah.
with the Carol Burnett show. But yeah, so
That's our football.
yeah.
Oh, you wanted
No,
to say
that's
one
it.
thing.
Oh,
One
you
thing.
had. Oh,
yeah.
was
okay.
that you that had a story?
Yeah.
That's,
Somebody
Okay.
called me. I think yesterday, the Cure Bowl. I'd never heard of it before, so join me.
No one else has either.
But Liberty beat Coastal Carolina in overtime in the Cure Bowl. Liberty had one loss going in. It was to North Carolina State earlier in the season, and they lost because North Carolina State blocked a field goal their last possession, so
Yeah.
that would have been to win the game. Yesterday, they block a Coastal Carolina field goal in overtime to win the game. Now, Liberty, they've never been on the map before, and
No,
here they are.
no.
They're going to end up in the top 20.
Liberty,
them.
Liberty, Liberty.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching one bowl game. I think it was the Lending Tree Bowl. So that's a big one. And you know when you got two schools that have two names, like Kentucky Central or whatever, and one team's 5-6 and the other's 6-5. I mean, I yearn for the old time days when everybody was like 9-1, 10-0, back when they played 10 games, maybe 8-2. Now we got 5-6, 6-5. Why? Because something's
But
wrong
it
with those
really-
schools.
Well, it is, because Lending Tree always brags about low interest. Well, that was a low interest bowl game.
But it started to go downhill when Weed Whacker came in. Then it started to get cut.
One thing about, I know we don't really talk about the NFL hardly at all, but I will mention about Alvin Kamara with the Saints. He scored 6 TDs yesterday, tying a record that Ernie Nevers in 1929 had. He had 6 TDs, but he did the unpardonable sin at Christmas time of wearing one red shoe and one green shoe, and he might get fined by the NFL. If you kneel for the flag, that's okay, but a red shoe and a green shoe, no.
He went Trevor Bauer on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
What's next? Movies.
Movie baseball.
Baseball movies.
Let's do the movies. Okay.
You
Doctor?
you
Want
some
me?
favorites?
Doctor?
Okay, so I'd say my two. There's a lot of baseball movies in it. Baseball's hard.
Pick 30.
Okay, let's go back. Okay, so my favorite was made in the year I was born, 1957, and it's Fear Strikes Out with Jimmy Pearsall. And the reason I liked it is because when I was a kid, Jimmy Pearsall played for the Angels, and so that I kind of watched it for that, and also the theme of that. Not the theme because it was mental illness, but there was an overbearing father who was, trying to live his life through his son. And he so much pressure that his son had a mental breakdown. And I read the book. It's one of the few books I've read. And
A lot of pictures in there?
yeah, a lot of pictures of baseball. And so Jimmy Pearsall says that they made his dad look bad, that it really wasn't that he had mental illness, and he was basically manic depressive, and that would be like, what do you call it, today's thing, bipolar. And he was on lithium for his whole life. So he played baseball, he had a great career, he was a good player, solid defensively. And the movie has, Carl Malden plays his father, and we talked a little bit about
Anthony Perkins.
Anthony Perkins, who was not an athlete. We all know that.
No, but he was working up to the psycho role.
Right, but he was perfect for the movie, actually, except he wasn't athletic. He didn't have the sports
he
gene.
wasn't.
Okay, so the director of the movie was Robert Mulligan, and he was, if he couldn't fix that, nobody's gonna fix it, because he had
Mulligan.
To Kill a Mockingbird and Summer 42, and he did. So anyway, so the movie's makes him look, insane. He goes to a mental institution and struggles with that. And in real life, though, he says in the book that he remembers going into a hotel, and then there's about like 6-8 months of his life he doesn't have any idea what happened during that time. This is a guy that had 9 kids, married 3 times, and used that as kind of that whole he's insane thing on a speaking tour. He later became an announcer for the White Sox. He had a lot of conflicts with umpires and executives, and he even had a fight with Bill Veeck, who owned the White Sox, with his son fist fight. And he was a coach, but he died in his 80s. And the movie meant a lot to me because, you know, my brother and I would play baseball, and there was some lines in there with Carl Malden. He'd say, Jim, get your hit. You haven't gotten your hit, you know. Or Jim Pearsall would say, in the movie,
pressure.
Yeah, Jim Pearsall would say, Dad, I'm hitting third in the league, and he says, hitting third in the league, people rot in the minors. That isn't first. So it was that kind of a intense.
Yeah, it's never
thing.
good enough.
Right, and so a lot of, you can think that a lot of people that have played sports have had that overbearing father, maybe, and that. So it's a good theme. It was a good movie. Bing Russell was in it.
Was he?
He was in it just to hold a microphone.
Yeah.
And also, Ed Kooky Burns was in it, and there was a scene when he lifted. Anthony Perkins had broke his foot, and they were carrying him up the stairs, and he was in that. So those are two people in that movie. Okay, so that's real quick. Second one, real quick, is Pride of the Yankees.
Well, wait a
Gary-
minute, before you get to
oh.
that real quick. So, my take on that movie is, yeah, Pearsall, he's not an athlete. Of course, that was back in the day when you really didn't have to be athletic, because you're going to go on the Pride in the Yankees a little bit, and Gary Cooper.
Okay.
But the other thing is, whoever was the coordinator of, you know, they had one scene, it was a close-up of, I think the pitcher was in a stretch, and then they go to real live game footage, and the guy's winding up. So it's like, make up your mind. You got to be, you know, the continuity wasn't there.
Right.
That movie was as unwatchable as an Angels game.
Oh.
Sorry.
Ow.
Oh!
Hey!
Okay, anyway, Pride of the Yankees.
Okay, so Pride of the Yankees, Gary Cooper plays Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig, you know, the rivalry with Babe Ruth, they play that up. They play the overbearing mother and his wife, played by Teresa Wright, who I had a crush on her.
Oh, she only died like 12, 14 years ago.
Yeah, I know, but man, she was like my idea of. I liked her movies. Anyway,
I think she's the only actress in her first three movies she was nominated for an Academy Award. First three movies.
She was really good. She played, you know, great movies. So I liked her in that. But that movie, you know, there's a lot of things going on in the movie. But there's one thing that happens in that movie that really affected me. And that was when he gives his speech and he says, you know, he gives that speech, but today's, you know, I've had a bad break. I'm the luckiest man in the world. And so he walks off and he goes down the dugout. You hear his cleats and he goes down the dugout and he goes out through the tunnel and you hear the umpires say, play ball, you know, as the fans were, and it's like, you know, that's just the reality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Goes on.
You know, that no matter how big a star you are, when your career's over, and no matter the great things that you've done, it moves on to the now. And that, you know, that always affected me. And then I could tell you a little story later after you guys tell me about something that happened to me at a game that reminded me of it, and it really made that all the more powerful.
Your movies have such dark themes and undercurrents, you know, the overbearing parents and stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite's just about a guy who sells his soul to the devil. I mean, nothing big there.
Hey,
Might as well be about politics or something.
And the thing that's so great about it, it's a musical.
Yeah.
But I also like, you know, The Natural and Field of Dreams.
That was filmed well, The Natural.
I love that movie.
Because it was, you know.
And Major League. I think it's a really fun movie. Yeah. It's going to be hard watching it in the future because they're not going to be the Indians anymore. So, and then 8 Men Out. You ever see that one?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
So very athletic.
They were all athletic.
Yep.
And even Major League. It got actors that actually picked up a bat in their day and a glove and threw the ball. I mean, they related to it.
And Serrano became a spokesperson for Allstate. So
there you go.
That's pretty good there.
Yeah.
Okay, I got also. I want to mention. I wanted to mention this like months ago, and I know it's a couple of days after Christmas for those of you watching this in 2045, but it's worth watching any time of the year. Netflix, Christmas Chronicles. Kurt Russell is Santa Claus. If you haven't seen it, if you don't have Netflix, subscribe for a month and watch it and then cancel. Chronicles 2, not as good, but I'm telling you, any time of the year, Christmas Chronicles. The other one, baseball, Battered Bastards of Baseball, about Kurt Russell's dad, Bing, who was a very legendary character actor and was the sheriff in Bonanza for many years. So Battered Bastards of Baseball on Netflix and Christmas Chronicles. You got to watch them. They're really great. And as a matter of fact, I was watching real quick about the battered guys, I won't keep saying the name, that Kurt Russell's cousins did the movie, and two of them directed it. And it's just, you just got to see it, no question about it. My top 5 movies plus 2. Number 7, Trouble with the Curve. It's Clint Eastwood. It's an improbable finish, but you just love it because you want that guy, that executive, to get his, and he does. Number 6, For Love of the Game. I didn't realize when I was first watching it, and then somebody said, it's a chick flick. It is, except when you see the baseball scenes. So in the baseball scenes, and Vin Scully, he comes up with that last line, the cathedral that's Yankee Stadium is turned into a chapel. That's Vin Scully. Number 5, Pride the Yankees, for what you said. I think it's about a more of a romance of the game. It's a love story. And Major League, I think anytime that's on, no matter if you turn it on halfway through, you're going to watch it. I think ball players have said that too. Number 3, even though I'm not an analytics guy, Moneyball.
Oh, yeah.
I think Moneyball was very well done. When I first saw it was going to be made, and I was like, what? And I saw something the other day with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill and Billy Bean, and they just, it started and stopped production a number of times because it was like, this isn't going to happen. They did a great job. And number 1 for me, The Babe with John Goodman. No.
I thought that was Babe, the pig.
Or Basketball from 1990. Basketball. I mean, who could not? I've never seen it, but I think I might watch it now. Jenny McCarthy's in it, one of our great thespians. Robert Vaughn. Ernest Borgnine was in it. Bob Costas. And the next Hall of Famer, Al Michaels are in it as themselves. Cameos by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Reggie Jackson, Dan Patrick, Kenny Mayne, Tim McCarver, Robert Stack. Not number 1. Number 1 for me is Field of Dreams. And for me, just real quick, so I go to see it in Westwood by myself because my 2 daughters at the time are 9 and 13, and my wife, not a baseball fan. I see it by myself. I'm just bawling at the end because, unlike Jimmy Pearsall, I didn't have a domineering father because my mom was courageous enough to divorce my dad when I was just a year plus. So I grew up with a couple of stepdads, but that was it. So at the end, we'd say, Dad, want to have a catch?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't have that. And there's a lot of people, you have a good relationship or not good relationship or a little of both with your dad. For me, it was probably good that I didn't have any relationship with my dad, which I did. But at the end, and so then I told my wife, and it's not just about baseball. We've heard that, right? I mean, it's about other stuff going on too. So I take them. End of the movie. I thought you said it wasn't about baseball. You know, they didn't. So like 15 years ago, my 9-year-old at the time is now 25. She watches it one day, calls me up on the phone. Dad, I get it now. I just get it.
Yeah.
All these years later, and she finally, as an adult, got that. So those are my top movies, along with Battered Bastards of Baseball and The Christmas Chronicles.
League of Their Own.
That was good.
Line.
That was good
and,
too.
You know, what's her name? Penny Marshall directed that. Okay.
Yeah.
And her co-star in Laverne and Shirley was a guy by the name of David Lander, and he played Squiggy.
Yeah.
Okay, Squiggy, and he was a scout for the Angels and for Seattle Mariners. Bill Bavasi hired him. He just died December 14th.
I'm always the last to know.
Yeah. And
wow.
He died of MS, and he was a big fan of baseball, and he was in that movie uncredited as the announcer.
That was very, very
And
nostalgic
they
at
had
the end with all the ladies.
The best
and,
line was, "There's no crying in baseball."
Yeah, and I guess Tom Hanks' role was kind of loosely based on Jimmy Fox.
Yeah. So, that was a pretty good movie.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a very
and
good
Gary
movie.
Marshall's, and he's a big baseball fan.
It was a very good movie.
Yeah.
I think we need to go to the other part of this. Unfortunately, once again, our RIP section. Kevin Green, great football player for many years, started with the Rams, the long hair, just passed away at like 56 or 58.
Yeah.
And then Casey Jones. I mean, this guy, if there was a Webster's dictionary anymore, you look at the definition of winner, that'd be Casey Jones. He won 12 championships, 8 as a NBA player, 2 as an assistant coach with the Lakers and Celtics, 2 as a head coach at the Celtics, plus he won 2 NCAA championships with Bill Russell and a gold medal with the 56 USA Olympic team. So that guy was a winner. And then you just texted us today about Phil Necro.
Oh,
so
God.
you had an interest. I got some stats, but you do too. And obviously these are they're people, but they've left us not only with remembrances, but statistics too. So you had a one or two of Phil.
I think we all have some stats on Necro because he's just one of those guys who was a fixture for so many years in the game. 318 wins, but the one that really stands out relative, especially to today's game, is that in a 3-year span from 77 to 79, he threw over 1,000 innings. And he's the last pitcher in baseball to throw consecutive seasons of 300 innings.
Yeah.
300 innings, and he did it 3 years in a row at least.
Yeah.
Or 3 years in a row. I'm not sure how many other seasons he did that, but he was a workhorse.
Well, what about the no-hitter he threw too?
Oh, yeah. He threw a no-hitter in
San Diego.
'85, I think. And he didn't throw a knuckleball until the last pitch of the game.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just this crazy knuckleball pitcher. He was a pitcher. He was an artist.
Yeah, and he threw like at 46, 47 years old, he was throwing 210 innings, 220 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys today, they shut them down before that. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't want to go on a Tommy Lasorda rage, but I feel enraged that these guys walk off in the 5th inning, getting $6 million a year, and they think, they gave up 4 runs in 5 innings and they're doing something great. These guys left it on the field.
Yeah.
This guy, what did he pitch, 5,000 innings?
Yeah,
And Phil was
at least.
part of the brothers tandem that has the most wins of any.
And Joe Necro was
221 wins.
He was 5 years younger. He died at 61.
Yep.
Phil died at 81. They're Ohio boys. And, that's when guys men were men. Pitchers were pitchers.
That's so interesting about the knuckleball at the end because Buck Rogers, who was a catcher for the Angels many years, and he caught Dean Chance when he was pitching for the Angels, and Dean had a no-hitter with 2 outs in the 9th, and he calls Rogers out. He wants to throw a spitter for the last out. And Bob says, "You don't have a spitter." But he wanted to do it anyway, and he threw whatever his spitter was and was hit for a base hit, and he lost his no-hitter.
Wow.
Bobby Mercer said about Necro's knuckleball. He says it's like hitting his knuckleball is like eating Jell-O with chopsticks.
Yeah. and the other thing to me, he had 6 wins at 27 years of age. 6. He ended up with 318. He had 121 wins after the age of 40, which is the most ever for anybody 40 and over. He and his brother combined for 539 victories. They also combined for 478 losses. And in 79, Joe and Phil were co-leaders in the NL with 21 wins apiece. And Phil also was the loss leader that year with 20. He was 21-20 with about 342 innings pitched. And Joe hit one career home run in his major league career off of his brother. So
when he was 40 years old, he pitched 23 complete games.
Wow,
That's a career for
Amazing.
today's pitchers.
And at 22, he threw 22 complete games when he was 39.
wow.
I mean, these guys today, it's outrageous.
My athlete of the year for 2020, Sarah Fuller. I mean, how many people can squib kick 30 yards and kick not 1, but 2 PATs? No, my athlete, have athletes of the year. All of these players that played and God love the ones who opted out, and I understand that, especially like a Mike Trout, whose wife was pregnant, and he played. So to me, athletes of the year, like them, love them, don't feel it one way or another, but God bless all of them for playing and doing the best they could under this situation. Also, I have 2 feel-good stories of the year, which would be Eddie Alvarez, who was 30 years of age, was a silver medalist in the Olympics a few years ago as a speed skater. It was also a baseball player, obviously, kind of started and stopped with that and skating and won his medal and decided, I'm going back into baseball. And at 30, got on the Marlins this year. I mean, he didn't hit 200 and he had 2 RBIs and they released him. But, hey, I'd take that in a heartbeat, So I think that's phenomenal. That's the one thing about baseball. You just never know. My other feel-good story is the Nathan Apodaca story. If you want to go onto YouTube, if you haven't, all you need to do is type in Nathan, and he's the gentleman from Twin Falls, Idaho, whose truck went out again. No big deal. Just gets on his skateboard to wheel his way to work with cran apple juice from Ocean Spray and boosts Dreams from Fleetwood Mac to #1 status again. You'll see all types of things on YouTube about him. And so gets a new truck from Ocean Spray. So I think that was out of left field. That was, what do you guys, before we wrap up, because we're getting close.
Best sports moments of 2020.
I
have 2 that I would like to.
I think I'm going to guess one of them.
To share. Let's see, how can I do this?
There you go.
No mystery here, obviously.
I think we got a wrap, Paul.
I know. My number 1 is no mystery, but my number 2 shouldn't be very hard either. And it's the advent of SPK Speak Sports.
Oh, my God.
Because these 2 guys are my neighbors. And, we'd hang out now and then. And they were good guys. But now they are really my friends. And this show has brought us so close as families. I'd like to say, thanks to Kelly and your family, our production team of Luke and Hannah and Nancy. Couldn't do any of this without them. And we've had a lot of fun along the way. We had I think a great interview with Jim McConnell, sports writer.
Yeah.
Wrote the book about Bobo Newsom. We dressed up for Halloween. And we played the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
So, we had a pretty good season. Yeah. And so that would be my best sports moment of
Thank you,
2020,
neighbor.
Thank
Just
you
like
guys,
Fred,
too.
Just like a hello, neighbor.
Yeah, I know I couldn't do this by myself. I'd be like Mick Fleetwood without the Macs.
Yeah.
Like Bo Donaldson without the Haywoods.
And it'd be called just sports.
Can you imagine going to a Mick Fleetwood solo concert?
Oh, man.
And you'd go after like 10 minutes to whoever you were with, and you go, guy's a pretty good drummer, but is there anything else?
Yeah.
Everybody must get stoned.
Recommendation 2, I got a lot of these, but Curveball by Barry Zito. How I Discovered True Fulfillment After Chasing Fortune and Fame. It's a great book. Ends up real well, too. Next time, we don't have time this time, but it'll be the beginning of a new year, but I like to look back on a couple of gutsy stories from 2020 that I had. And, real quick, character, Joe Charbonneau, Rookie of the Year in 1980. He's out of the big leagues after 82. That was it. He had a good year, Rookie of the Year. And the legend was that one of the things he would do, being the character that he was, he could open beer bottle caps with his eye socket. And he said one day, I only did that once.
Reminiscent of Tim Rosevich, former San Diego Charger and USC great, who ate a light bulb when he was in college, and he said he only did that once.
Just did it once. I'm going to talk about these helmets next time, too. As you can see, they're fuzzy, not shiny. And on behalf of us and the Mickey gang, bye, kids.
You hit the ball out of the park, Speak Sports.